long time ago, when a small country named Philippines has not been discovered yet by the Spaniards and the other foreign nationalities in Laguna de Bay, there was a small sitio named Baras. It was an old town that is part of Morong and Tanay, and there were very few villagers residing in it. The primary source of income of the people living in the town is basically the agricultural aspect of the place, such as clearing the forest, cultivation of rice fields, planting of vegetables, sweet potatoes, corn, root crops, etc. Another source of their main income is fishing. They catch different kinds of fish in the lake of Laguna de Bay. Because Sitio Baras is separated in three parts, such as the mountain, which is full of huge trees on it, the plains which they plant their crops at, and the lake of Laguna de Bay. Back then, when Sitio Baras didn't have its own independence yet, there was a game called Sikaran that surfaced, the Filipino art of foot fighting, that uses feet as the main weapon, while the hands are used as a shield or defense or to throw opponents. Baras was founded on the year of 1595 through the Franciscan missionaries, and because the place was lacking priests that time, Baras was considered Morong's visita. And on the year 1906, Baras has been considered as a small town of Tanay, and on the year 1920, it separated itself and claimed its own independence as a town. The kind of games at the town of Baras during the time were Patintero, shaped as a patty. It is a game in which they draw a line on the ground using water or ash from a bonfire. It's a game consisting 3 or more players, and the person who is at the stake at the game will lead their team members, and it is assigned at the straight line in the middle. That person will be the one to declare when the game would start, and those other team members which are assigned in the horizontal line should extend their hands so that the opposing team will not be able to pass through them. They are free to run while extending their hands so that they could easily tag or touch the opposing team. Taya means they are the losing team, so they need to stay inside a line they created using water or ash from a bonfire. The second game is called Tago-Taguan, or hide and seek. This is a game in which the person who loses will have to go to a tree that serves as a boundary or landmark and will face the tree, blocking the view while the other players hide themselves as he continually counts. After that, the taya or the person's stake at the game will look for them, and the first one that they are able to find will be the one who loses. The third game is called Karera ng Bangka, or boat regatta. They row on the river, consists of 2 to 4 boats that compete against each other. They will conduct a race and try to outdo each other, and the fastest boat or the first one to reach the finish line will be the winner. The fourth game is called Buno sa Tubig, or water wrestling. This is a kind of game in which they play every time that they will take a bath in the river or on a small stream. It is a wrestle game conducted in the water, and the water level should be until the chest part. The player should be carried by the other team member and on their shoulder, a game which is played by pair in each team. This could be played by 2 or more than teams in pair and wrestle with each other using their hands and arms while on the water. The one who is left standing will be the one considered the champion. And the fifth game, called Luksong Baka, or cow jump, is a game in which more than 3 players fight with each other. The losing player will be bent, while the other players will have to jump over on him or her. The losing player will have to bend higher and higher until the other players are not able to jump over him or her and will get launched. The person who will get caught will be the new losing player and will have to bend so others could jump over them. The sixth game, called Sabuyan ng Putik, or Mad Flip, is a kind of game which is played by 2 or more players. They throw mud with each other using their hands. They will throw mud at different body parts of the other players, including the face, and ended up being a competition called Sikaran, the ancient art of Filipino foot fighting. Sikaran is a type of game or competition that uses the feet to attack, while hands are used to parry attacks and throw someone off. The game Sikaran was discovered and learned by the young farmers of the town Baras while they were working on their own rice field, plowing it to prepare for when it's time to plant the rice. The primary food of people in the Katagaluhan region is rice. According to the natives, back in the old days, young farmers work on their own rice fields, irrigating it first to soften the soil and harvesting weeds throughout the year, and after a few days, plowing it to plant the rice. And every time they rest before they deploy their carabaos or water buffalo in the river or creek, what they do first is throw mud on each other's face and body. Once they're covered with mud all over their body and face, they will ride their own carabaos or water buffalo all together and would race towards the river or creek to let the carabaos sink in the water, bathe, and regain strength. Carabaos cannot seek the extreme heat in the afternoon. After bathing their own carabaos, they will then wrestle in the water. Mud fight is their usual game, and the teenagers' reason is it's fun. They do not know how to fight or hurt people because they are respectful, loving of their parents and selves, and they fear God. One time, while playing mud fight on body and face, they weren't as content or happy. And so to intensify their mud fight on the body and face of their playmates, they use their feet. They kick the mud at first, they're just kicking the mud towards their playmates, but later on they learned it gets in the eyes, so they kick the mud at first, they're just kicking the mud towards their playmates, but later on they learned it gets in the eyes, so they dip the tip of their toes in the mud and flick it towards the face and body of their playmates. Their goal is not just to cover their opponents in mud, but to inflict pain too, in a way that they dip their toes in the mud and flick it towards their opponents, that when it hits them, they get a speck from their eye that prevents them from looking at their playmate, until they hit each other's body and one of them falls. From there, they got the idea for the game, kicking each other's body until one of them drops on the ground and loses. Due to their immense foot and arm strength, they are well trained and used to farming activities, while their arms for boat rafting every time they fish in the bay. The logging of timber and harvesting of rice and vegetables using patulang. Patulang is compared to a basket, but it's made of bamboo. From the rice fields, from the mountains, where they get their livelihood from until their homes, walking barefoot daily that their feet are dense and wide. So anyone who gets hit by their kick in any part of the body falls and surrenders from strong impact. At first, Sikaran is mud fight, where the game originated, is played only by the young farmers in the rice field every time they have to work in the fields because there's mud. But when they discovered this game, it became a competition or a contest of their strength, and they learned to play it all the time, may it be rainy or sunny, especially when it's harvest time. Almost everyone from the village is in the fields, whether men, women, or children. Because of their so-called camaraderie or bayanihan, they help each other to quickly finish harvesting rice in the field. It gives speed and strength to them. If there are a lot of people watching their battle or competition, especially when women are watching their fight or contest, that's when they feel a different feeling. They get embarrassed if they receive a blow on their body and they fall, until it came to a point where women became their inspiration during contests. At first, it didn't bother them that they fall or collapse, but later on, they could no longer accept it in themselves that they would fall or get beaten. That's why they learned to improve their knowledge of kicking. Their daily companion or partner in their farming activity is the carabao, or water buffalo. So the second kick they have learned is the tadjak kalabao, or carabao kick, that uses the soles of the feet to strike. The first kick they learned is the pitik putik, or mud flip, where they acquired the act of kicking mud or tossing mud towards their playmates. Their playmates' approach of kicking the opponents is backward and forward only, and the ones that hit from the pitik-putik are the soles of their feet, whereas the carabao kick is what they often use. During their exchange of kicks in the body, they learn to avoid getting hit by the opponent. To prevent themselves from getting hurt, they got accustomed to being quick and agile on their moves. That's why when the opponent strikes, they're ready to avoid it. From left to right, with a quick sweep of the opponent's feet using their hand to avoid a blow from landing on their body. In their attempts to keep themselves from falling, they steer towards another direction to avoid getting kicked. In their continuous attempt, their opponent steered right and their feet spread wide. They run after and kicked sideways, and unexpectedly, they hit the opponent and the opponent fell down. They were surprised because the impact of the kick on the side is strong, and from then, they trained themselves to kick sideways, which they compared to sikat baka, or cow kick. The side kick strikes using the edge of the heel of the feet. Among the animals, only a cow can kick sideways. This is the third type of kick they discovered, and because of their natural speed and agility, they learn to go around the opponent to confuse and trick them so they can freely attack without any obstacles. At first, if the opponent is behind, they could no longer turn around or face to kick the opponent. When one of them got dizzy and confused, they thought of sticking their feet backwards, and unexpectedly, due to their speed, agility, and strength, they hit and got the opponent to fall, struck them on their stomach, and unable to breathe again. Therefore, they called it sipang patalikod, sika di kabayo. From then on, they kept the behaviors of animals in mind, how they can protect themselves against their fellow animals. They became open-minded and searched for ways to attack, and they carefully studied the costumes of the animals and discovered animals become fearless when they are bullied by other animals. They get an attitude, especially when they had just given birth. They become overprotective of their children. One of the things they focused on is the horse. It's the only animal that can use all 4 feet to attack anyone who tries to harm them. Apart from the back kick, they also know how to stamp their 2 feet forward. They researched and studied carefully. That's why they learned how to kick and stamp forward. Double alternating front kick. Running first before kicking, so those who get hit fall. They mix the way chickens attack, called labuyo. They run and jump with a combination of double kick forward, and the 2 combination of their kicks is called dublihang sipa paharap, cockfight. They combined all types of kicks they learned: front snap kick, pitik-putik, front kick, carabao kick, side kick, sikat baka, back thrust heel kick, sikat kabayo, horse kick with front legs, dambang kabayo, feet together leaping forward, sikat labuyo. That's where they derived the name of the game, Sikaran. By imitating animal stomping or kicking movements, the kick is thrusting the foot forward using knee strength, but the stomp uses the strength of the knee, hip, and swing of the body. Back then, they were contented with their knowledge on how to attack on an enemy. All of their kick or stomping attack movements were heavily influenced by the movements and behavior of animals, which they used for self-defense. Filipinos have a saying to not approach a cow or a horse, for you might get yourself kicked, because an animal that is not accustomed to their owner or someone who cares for them can inflict pain. Needs taming or habituation before they can have the animal help them in their daily farm activities to avoid hurting others. The primary source of income for the people of Baras are mostly in the mountains, clearing lands through slash and burning, or kainin, planting variety of vegetables, rice and root crops like sweet potato, taro, purple yam, etc. Also, fishing variety of fishes at the Laguna de Bay. The edge of the town of Baras is called Lagundi, village of Morong. Since they spent most of their time working daily in the rice field with the Morong townsfolk, they came to learn how to play Sikaran, joining in the games and contests, which eventually became a competition between Morong against Baras townsfolk, and they called the game Sikaras as Paningara, which eventually became a regular game, and they would often challenge each other. But the edge of the town, where mostly takes place at Pulo, Patajang, Surusuro, Basud, Ulahan, up to Kalangbato and Salangbato. Sikaran, which originated from throwing mud or pitik-pitik, mud flick. Another game in Baras is called Unahan o Karera ng Bangka, boat regatta. This game is played by young farmers while fishing different kinds of fish, breeds at the Laguna de Bay, where 2 to 4 boats race and paddles until they reach the finish line. First one to finish the race wins. This is one of their ways to exercise and strengthen their arms for blocking. rowing are two crosspiece in the game, Bulok sa Tubig, or water wrestling, and Sikaran. But the games water wrestling and boat racing was not preserved by the Baras people, for no one carried on its development. A long time had passed and Sikaran has evolved and developed different ways in combat and competition. The first one is called Patas na Labanan. Participants will duel inside a lined 8 feet wide circle. Both participants have the same physique, age, and height. This duel is won by earning the most number of points or body hits and toppling your opponent to lose the game by falling 3 times. Second, Labanang Hagaran, where participants will duel in a rice paddy that measures 25 feet square wide, until the opponent's arms are raised to declare toss or surrender, and the last man standing will be declared the winner or champion. Third, Partida Laban, which has 3 types of duels. The first one is called Labanan as Hagdang Bato, a duel where the best fighter is at the bottom of the stone stairs and the weakest or smaller ones is at the top. The best fighters will have to kick the weakest or smaller ones out of the way until they reach the top. Only then will they be considered the winner or champion. The second one is Labanang Isalaban sa Dalawa. The biggest, the tallest, and the best fighter will challenge 2 smaller or weaker fighters, where they will have to duel inside an 8 feet wide circle and earn points, and if the weaker fighters can push the better fighter out of the circle, then they be considered the winner. And if both weaker fighters are pushed out of the challenge circle, then the best fighter will be considered winner or champion. If neither challenger were pushed out of the circle, then the fighter with the most points wins. Third, Labanang May Hangganan. The best or bigger fighter will stay inside the 8 feet wide line circle, and the weaker or smaller fighters will be at the outside of the circle. They are free to cross the circle anytime to draw the stronger contender out by using Sikaran, while earning points. And if the weaker opponent successfully draws the best contender out, then he automatically wins. But if they didn't draw him out, then whoever earned the most points wins. There are 3 types of duel of Partida Laban. The fourth one is called Labanan sa Suga o Lubin, wherein 2 challengers will fight against each other while a 3 elbow-length rope is tied around their waist. The objective of the game is to topple or make your opponent surrender. They can hold the rope and tug it towards them to pull their opponent and kick them. Whoever falls and concedes loses. And if nobody topples or concedes, whoever earned most points wins. The fifth one is called Labo-Labo, a challenge between 4, 5, 6, or more players inside an 8 feet circle. Whoever steps beyond the circle or concedes loses the game, and the last man standing will be declared the winner or champion. Labo-Labo is one of the most difficult challenge or contest, kick strength, output, and body endurance. Labo-Labo became a challenge to young farmers or Sikaran players, especially when there are female audiences waiting the contest. It is a great challenge for the players to think of ways of how to make their opponents concede or pushed out of the 8 feet square wide circle. Because of the lack of space, they are not able to stomp freely. There's difficulty in hitting body parts and to drive their opponents beyond the limit of the circle for them to stay and keep themselves inside the circle and be declared champion or king, which is a huge honor for Sikaran players. During the rice harvesting season, females would also join Sikaran contests, and most of the time, females are capable of doing stronger kick compared to males. In the olden days, when rainy season starts, the unhusked rice along the islands near Laguna de Bay was flooded up to waist deep due to heavy rainfall, which rarely happens. But in order to harvest the rice that is submerged in the water, it would require the process of moving, which is dangerous and sensitive and could cause accidents and injury. That's why it needs careful handling. And use of haras or karet, fennel or sickle. For moving, any lack of knowledge in using the fennel or sickle under the water is dangerous and could cause accidents or injury. The moving and harvesting process that they learned is by dividing bundles of rice and submerging the fennel or sickle and reaping the rice with side-upward motion. The karet or sickle do not wobble underwater if the motion is going upward. This way, they can immediately harvest the rice beneath the water surface, dividing the rice sideward and reaping it upward. Is the movement where they had the idea and effective way of how they maneuver a Sikaran motion against an opponent, Labo-Labo contest. They combined the sipang kabayo patalikod and effective way of moving or reaping rice underwater, wherein the direction of sipang kabayo, back thrust heel kick, should be straight was made upward where the heel of foot hits the target. And because there isn't any obstacle to lift the skin upwards, you can freely hit an opponent even in difficult angles and tight spaces. Being hit by the heel makes an opponent concede because of the strength of the feet, knee, and thickened soles and heels. All the players or opponents wonders where it was imitated or the basis of sipang sikwat paitas originated. A farmer explained that the idea came from the process of harvesting rice submerged in water, where they divide the rice bundle and whip it sideward going up, since they called the sipang sikwat paita as biakid or biakid. And because of the movement of the karet was the basis of the idea, they named it sickle kick in English. This was the first instrument used as a reference in naming a kick motion. Being a lumberjack, they learned how to cut trees and chop them down for firewood, and they named it sipang palakol or sipang pasibok, axe kick, where they raised their feet and slammed it down with a forceful thrust. This move have two kinds. One is sipang palakol, which is an inward move, and sipang palakol or the outward move. Biakid is the major and signature kick of Sikaran. It has a distinctive force, controlled with the most powerful force in the entire body, from the head downward, the waist, thigh, foot, sole, and heel. And while moving the body and head, it further increases the power by turning the whole body, which makes it the strongest type of kick that cannot be blocked or defended easily. The most critical part of the body that can be targeted are the head, the hip, girth back, backbone, and stomach. Biakid was enriched and they developed different kinds of attack. Sikaran was used by the Baras townsfolk for self-defense during 1640, till their town experienced violence and their houses burned and ravaged by Chinese rebels. It was also used in 1898 by the Baras people when they joined the revolutionary Katipunero movement against the Spaniards, under the leadership of General Emilio Aguinaldo for Philippine sovereignty. During the World War II, the Baras guerrillas used it for self-defense against the Japanese soldiers. History of Sikad, Biakid, or Biakid. It was a rainy season when a rainstorm flooded the rice fields close to the lagoon of Laguna de Bay. This caused a huge inconvenience and problem to the farmers who didn't know how to reap or harvest rice submerged in the flood. They thought of ways to harvest or reap the submerged rice. One farmer bought his sickle, haras, a type of sickle with a curved metal blade with a short handle filled on a tang, and he tried to reap the rice plants but found it difficult and dangerous as he might injure himself. While this method he attempted to reap the rice plants, but it was difficult and it took a while. It may also cause injury. So while in the process of reaping the rice, he thought of dividing the bundle of rice and submerged the sickle sideward and reaped it upwards. He then realized that his method was effective for rice submerged underwater. Since then, he used the method of dividing the rice bundle, placing the sickle sideward and reaping it upwards. One day, there was a gathering held right at the heart of Baras town. Different kinds of games were observed by the young people. Patintero, boat racing, luksong baka, hide and seek, and sikaran. They play different types of competition. Hagaran, patas na laban, parties laban, and the eye-catching game of labo-labo, where they duel inside an 8-feet circle, making with 4 to 6 players and sometimes 8. They are playing sikaran, and whoever steps out or concede loses, and whoever remained inside the circle are declared champions or winner. The labo-labo contest is a difficult game for the reasons of limited spaces for them to kick against their opponents, and that's when they make use of the method of rice plant reaping or harvesting underwater. He thought that instead of using sikat kabayo, where the heel hits the opponent, he mimicked the reaping motion upwards, with his heel landing a hit, and the target is at the back of his opponent, and each time he lands a hit, his opponents concede out of the intensity and impact of the hit. He also realized that while he is moving his head, it intensifies the force of his foot striking upward. Since then, that kicking motion was called biakid.